Okay, let's settle in. Today, we're doing a deep dive using source material provided by you, our listener. It's excerpts from a really foundational book in personal finance, maybe a bit controversial too, Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Our mission today is, well, pretty straightforward. We're going to go through these excerpts, pull out the key ideas. Some might challenge you about building wealth, finding financial independence, the way Kiyosaki presents them. Think of it as a shortcut, to grasp the core message.
Yeah, and the central idea, the whole premise the source lays out, it's built on this really stark contrast.
Yeah.
Kiyosaki talks about learning from two father figures. There's his actual dad, the poor dad, who kind of represents that traditional thinking about jobs and money.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's his best friend's dad, the rich dad, who had this completely different uh, self-made approach. So this deep dive is really about unpacking the lessons he says he learned living between those two financial viewpoints.
So, why focus on this book's ideas right now? Well, because it really makes you question a lot of the things many of us just grew up believing about work, income, security, all that. It offers a specific path to potentially shift your financial future. It speaks pretty directly to the kind of financial struggles people often face. Let's get into it. The very first big idea the source hits you with is this quite striking statement: the rich don't work for money. Now, that probably feels backwards for most people, right?
It absolutely does.
Hmm.
What the source explains is that the usual path, getting a job, working hard, it often traps people. They're stuck in a cycle where their income is just directly tied to the hours they put in trading time for that paycheck.
Right.
Rich Dad's viewpoint, as the source presents it, is completely different. It's that wealthy people, they focus their energy on building assets, things that generate income for them, whether they're actively working at that moment or not.
So it's less about how hard you work at your job for money and more about setting things up so your money starts working for you. The source really hammers this point: passive income, income from assets like businesses that run themselves, real estate investments, stocks. That's the engine. It's fundamentally different from just earning a salary and spending it. A whole different ballgame.
And that flows directly into the next essential piece the source really insists on, the absolute necessity of financial literacy. The book argues pretty strongly that this crucial skill set is just, well, missing from most traditional schooling.
Yeah, this is where he brings in that distinction he says is so critical. It sounds simple, but it's actually quite profound.
Mhm.
Understanding the difference between an asset and a liability.
Exactly. According to the source material, an asset is anything that puts money into your pocket.
Yeah.
So think about like a rental property bringing in rent or a business making profit, maybe stocks paying dividends. A liability, on the other hand, takes money out of your pocket. Things like, loan payments, car payments, credit card debt, ongoing bills. The source even points out things people think are assets, maybe like their own house, can function as liabilities in this framework if they primarily cost money month after month instead of generating income.
Right.
And the argument is the wealthy focus relentlessly on acquiring assets while keeping liabilities to a minimum.
And the source's point seems to be that many people get this wrong. They accumulate liabilities, maybe thinking they're building wealth, but it actually keeps them stuck financially. So really understanding that difference isn't just like a definition game, it's fundamental. How clear are you on that distinction when you look at your own finances? It does challenge how we usually think about owning things. Okay, so if the goal is building assets, how do you actually start? Especially if you're holding down a regular job. The source gives this advice: mind your own business.
Yeah, and this doesn't necessarily mean, walk into your boss's office tomorrow and quit. What the source seems to mean is that alongside whatever job you have, you need to be actively, intentionally building up your own column of financial assets. It's about creating income streams that aren't tied directly to your salary.
Right. Building something that can eventually make money for you, whether you're clocking in or not. The book mentions examples like investing in stocks, buying renter properties, maybe starting a side business that can operate and grow. The core idea is your job pays the bills now, but your focus for long-term wealth needs to be on acquiring these income-generating assets. Thinking about your situation, what's maybe one small thing you could do, even today, to start minding your own business in the way the source describes?
What's interesting, too, is how the source connects this asset building idea to leveraging systems. It specifically mentions the history of taxes and the power of corporations.
Okay, that sounds a little intimidating, maybe complex. But the source seems to highlight a specific advantage here. It talks about tax benefits that businesses, especially corporations, can access, which aren't usually available to individuals just earning a salary.
Exactly. The argument presented is that corporations, structurally, can often deduct a lot of their expenses before they calculate their taxable profit. This can significantly lower their tax bill compared to an individual who usually gets taxed on their gross income first and then deducts limited personal expenses.
Hmm.
So the book suggests that understanding this structure and maybe utilizing corporate structures in the way the source outlines can be a really powerful tool, a way to protect your income and reduce your overall tax burden over time. It's presented as a key piece of that financial literacy puzzle for building serious wealth.
Now, here's a really interesting, almost philosophical concept the source brings up. The rich invent money. What does that even mean?
It's definitely a mindset thing. It challenges the idea that money is just this fixed thing you have to go out and earn. The source's perspective here is that wealthy people are often more creative, more resourceful. They don't just find opportunities, they create them by applying their knowledge, spotting things others miss, and, leveraging situations.
So it's about seeing possibilities where others don't. The
hmm
source seems to argue that financial opportunity is kind of everywhere, but you need to think differently to actually see it and then act on it. It's less about waiting for your lucky break and more about developing the creativity and boldness to make opportunities happen. The book really pushes this idea that you don't just earn or save money, you can actually invent it through smart thinking and action. How could you maybe start looking at your own situation or potential opportunities with that more inventive, creative eye the source is suggesting?
Shifting gears just a little, the source gives some, let's say, unconventional advice about your day job, too. Work to learn, don't work for money.
Okay, that one definitely makes you stop and think. I mean, doesn't everyone work for money, fundamentally?
Well, yeah, but the source argues your main goal from a job, especially when you're starting out or trying to grow, shouldn't just be the paycheck. It should really be about acquiring valuable skills.
Hmm.
He emphasizes things like sales skills, understanding basic accounting and finance, marketing, how to negotiate, how to manage people, manage systems. These skills are presented as way more valuable for your long-term financial future than the salary itself.
Okay, so it's like viewing your job as a learning opportunity, almost like a classroom, a place to get the experience and know how you'll need later to build your own assets, rather than just seeing it as the thing that pays the rent. The book suggests maybe prioritizing jobs where you can pick up diverse skills relevant to running a business or managing investments, even if the starting pay isn't amazing. What skills could you be intentionally trying to learn right now, maybe at work, maybe elsewhere, that could pay off financially down the road, way beyond your current salary?
Now, the source is pretty clear that this path isn't, a walk in the park. It dedicates a whole section to overcoming obstacles.
Right. And what are the biggest ones it points to? It seems to be fear, doubt, and maybe a lack of self-confidence. It actually calls fear and doubt the biggest roadblocks people face when they try to put these ideas into practice.
Yeah, and the solution offered isn't some magic bullet. It's about developing resilience, learning how to assess risk properly and then take, calculated chances. It's about reframing failure, not seeing it as the end, but as crucial feedback, something you learn from. Basically, building the mental toughness to push through those internal barriers, the things that keep people stuck playing it safe in the conventional way. The source suggests these emotional hurdles are often tougher to beat than the purely financial ones.
That makes sense. Thinking about yourself, what fears or maybe doubts might be quietly holding you back from taking a step towards a financial goal? And how could this perspective from the source about resilience, about learning from mistakes, maybe help you push through that?
So to kind of pull these threads together, the source also gives some practical guidance on getting started and offers some specific to-dos.
Okay, what's the main takeaway there?
The absolute biggest message is just take action. Don't just read about it or think about it, start doing something. The source suggests maybe starting small with investments, maybe just putting a little bit aside regularly. But the key is to actually begin the process of acquiring those assets.
Right, get the ball rolling. And the book lists other concrete steps too, doesn't it? Like continuous education, keep reading about finance, maybe attend seminars, networking, connect with people who are already successful or share your goals, setting clear, specific financial targets. and just constantly focusing on building that asset column while keeping liabilities in check.
Exactly. The source frames wealth building not as a get-rich-quick scheme, but as a lifelong journey. It requires ongoing learning, self-improvement, and, importantly, connecting with other people.
The emphasis really seems to be on action, even one small step. So, from everything we've unpacked here, what's one concrete to do that resonates with you, something you could actually implement, maybe starting today?
Yeah, definitely food for thought there.
And just to quickly recap the pillars the source really emphasizes in its conclusion. Financial education is foundational, the absolute importance of building assets, a critical mindset shift away from just working for a paycheck, embracing an entrepreneurial spirit even if you have a job, taking intelligent risks, and crucially, a commitment to continuous learning throughout your life.
Ultimately, when you boil it down, what the source seems to be getting at is that Rich Dad, Poor Dad isn't really about specific stock picks or real estate deals. It's much more about a fundamental change in how you think about money and work. It's about developing that financial fluency, being really intentional with your money, and proactively creating assets that work for you instead of you just endlessly working for money.
And the potential outcome the source suggests is, well, achieving some form of financial freedom, breaking free from that cycle of living paycheck to paycheck, and building real, lasting wealth by being willing to challenge conventional wisdom, to look at money differently than maybe you were taught.
So if we take Kiyosaki's core argument from the source seriously, that financial independence is less about how much you earn and much more about how you understand and manage money, it leaves us with a pretty provocative question to ponder. What deeply held belief about work or earning or saving money might you need to re-examine or challenge in your own life right now?